So I want to talk to you a little bit about Mars. Mars is a malefic planet. Mars rules the zodiac sign Aries, and Mars also rules the zodiac sign Scorpio in traditional astrology. If you have a chart that is a day chart, which would mean that the sun is above the horizon, and the horizon is, if you were to draw a line from the ascendant to the descendant, the area above that would be the day side of the chart, and the area below would be the night side of the chart. So if you have the sun below, then you have a night chart, sun above, you have a day chart. This, depending on where your sun is, will give you a different kind of Mars from the other hemisphere. And it's important that you know the difference. So we know Mars is a malefic, but if you have a night chart, then Mars would be called your malefic of sect, because it's of the sect that it wants to be in, which is the nighttime. If you have a day chart, then you would call Mars the malefic out of sect, and you're going to get a much more difficult Mars. And the idea of this is that Mars is a very hot, fiery, heated planet, and it likes to be in the coolness of the night because it doesn't get all riled up as much if it's in a cool environment. So I'm going to read to you some of the significations of what Mars is. And I'm going to warn you right away, it's pretty harsh. But I want you to listen to some of these word descriptions that I'm going to read to you back from the ancients, how they spoke about Mars when they described it. And I want you to keep this in mind. These qualities describe Mars, but it also could be that a person who has this Mars, a malefic Mars, out of sect, could also work around this type of environment, or people that have experienced some of these words that I'm about to read to you. So I'm reading from Chris Brennan's book, page 174. The star of Mars signifies violence, wars, robbery, screams, adultery, taking away of one's possessions, banishment, exile, estrangement from one's parents, captivity, sexual intercourse, loss of good things, lies, hopeless situations, violent thefts, robbery, plundering, separation of friends, anger, fighting, verbal abuse, hatred, lawsuits. He also brings about violent murders, wounds, and bloodshed, attacks of fever, ulcers, and skin eruptions. I mean, it just kind of goes on. It can be very depressing. The idea here is that you need to get a feel and a vibe for what Mars is, because in traditional astrology, we believe that Mars is difficult. Modern astrology, I think, out of all the planets, has made Mars to be more like your sex drive, your energy, your get up and go feeling. But Mars in traditional astrology, and where it's placed, especially if it's a malefic out of sect, is going to be difficult. To what degree, that would be determined by other aspects in your chart. But the gist of it would be an out of sect Mars is a difficult Mars. Now, remember what I said. You could also, if it is the malefic of the sect, meaning you have a night chart, then maybe that Mars works around situations such as the words that I just described. Maybe this Mars works around people that are in prison, or people that have difficulties with, violence. Maybe you're a counselor. I mean, it can go either way depending on where your Mars is. But I want to read to you a little bit from William Lilly, who was an astrologer back in the 1600s, and he describes both of these Marses, one when it's well dignified and one when it's badly dignified. And I'm going to read a few of the lines to show you the difference of how important it is to be clear on what sect, what type of chart you have, a night chart or a day chart, to determine how your Mars is going to be. So let's say Mars is in a night chart and it's well dignified. These are some of the keywords that he talks about. Remember, this is back in the 1600s. In feats of war and courage, he is invincible, scorning any should exceed him, subject to no reason, bold, confident, immovable, contentious, challenging all honor to themselves, valiant, lovers of war and things pertaining thereunto, hazarding himself to all perils, willingly will obey nobody, nor submit to any, a large reporter of his own acts, one that fights all things in comparison of victory, and yet of prudent behavior in his own affairs. Now let's take that same Mars and put it in a day chart. So it's the malefic out of sect, and you'll get this according to William Lilly. Then he is a pratier without modesty or honesty, a lover of slaughter and quarrels, murder, thievery, a promoter of sedition, frays and commotions, and highway thief, as wavering as the wind, a traitor, of turbulent spirit, perjurer, obscene, rash, inhumane, neither fearing God or caring for man, unthankful, treacherous, oppressors, ravenous, cheater, furious, violent. Can you see the difference here? Now, does it mean that if you have a malefic out of sect that you're going to be all those things? Absolutely not. Are you going to be any one of them? Maybe not even so. But the energy, the vibe that those words are telling you about Mars, you will experience to some degree. That's without a doubt. And just the same as if you have your Mars, which is in a night chart where it's happy, you're going to get the words that I mentioned before that are better, and it presents a better face of Mars. But either way, Mars is an incredibly powerful planet. It's called a personal planet as well because it describes much of the personality, but it definitely, where it's placed in the topics of the house that it's in, it can bring some of these qualities to that house in some capacity during certain times of your life, not every day, all the time.